So today we've got currently over 100 people logged in. That's great. We're going to have far more than that at orientation. And one of the nice things about this game is it will scale. So let's talk about the purpose and agenda for today. So we're going to show you how to play and facilitate this new online version of the beer game. So we're going to do an abbreviated game. We're not going to play the whole game. That's not the purpose of today. The purpose of today is to help those of you who might want to use this in your programs, in your courses. How do you facilitate it, get you up to speed? And actually, let's ask a question. We have well over 100 people now participating this morning. Use Zoom and raise your hand if you have never played the beer game before.
If you're unfamiliar with how to raise your hand in Zoom, there's a reactions button on the bottom of your screen. You click reactions, and then you can have a hand raise or a thumbs up. Choose the hand raise.
So starting to see a few. That's totally fine. We welcome you. I see 3 so far. Yep, there's more. So if you've never played the beer game before, you're very welcome to participate today. But you do need to understand that we're not playing the game today. We're going to show you how to play. We're going to do an abbreviated game, but we're also going to show you how to be a facilitator in the online version. So we love to have you. You're very welcome. You just need to know that that's what's happening today. Okay, so that's great. If you're done raising your hand, you can take it down again, and let's get started. So what we're going to do is what you see here. We welcome your questions as we go along about, well, how do you do that, or what happens under this condition, clarifying questions especially, and hold your questions about and comments about, wouldn't it be better if you did this, or a really cool new feature would be that. We want to hear those ideas. Let's hold those for the end. This is what you're going to see when you log in. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And this is the facilitator screen. And I'm going to have both of them going. We'll flip back and forth. So I'll be here showing you, and you'll see it for yourself, but you'll also be able to see here what it's like to play. And you'll see here how you facilitate. So you're going to log in. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. We're not actually going to have you log in as a facilitator, because Mike and I are the facilitators today. But I want to show you how that would work. And then we're going to get you logged in as players. So let me go right to that. So facilitator login, you go to this website. I'll be pasting the link to access it into the chat in just a little while. And you're going to see this dialog box. This is the same one you're going to see when you log in as a player. As a player, you're going to log in with a game code. Or as a facilitator, you're going to click here and log in as a facilitator. And then you'll see this, and you'll put in your username and your password, which will have been previously established. When you register with the Learning Edge website, you get the credentials to access all of the instructor materials for all of the simulations we've got there. So then what would happen is you'd see this screen, and it'll say the simulation is closed, and it asks you to set a class code. So you might, just as an example, you decide what it is, and just for fun, this is fictitious, put in a class code called test game. These codes are case sensitive. So then you would submit, and you would be taken to this page. Actually, you'd be taken to the Monitor Teams page, which is what I showed you right here. What you then want to do is you want to assign users, okay? So the way you assign users is you click here. Now, this is the game we're actually going to play this morning. There are no users logged in yet, so you don't see anything here. But just as an example, let's go back to the slides. Players would be signing in using the game code you've just established. In my example, test game. As they log in, you can refresh the page. You'll see who's logged in, and it might look something like this. So I did a test game yesterday with all my friends at Saturday Night Live, and here they are. They've logged in. Now, one of the things you're going to see here is, first of all, their experience level is they've never played the beer game before. I'm going to show you about that in a minute. And they've not yet been assigned to a team or given a role as retailer, wholesaler, distributor, or factory. And we have not determined whether they're playing the basic game that first-time players do or the advanced game that experienced players do. You'll also see here, you get a warning. It says teams are incomplete or users are unassigned. Click here to see the warnings. And if you do, you see that all 9 of them, none of them have been assigned a role, and none of them have been assigned to a team. So that's there to help you as the facilitator assign people appropriately. So it would be very tedious to manually do that. You can manually assign people if that's your preference. But since we usually in the tabletop version ask people to sit anywhere they want, in other words, sit more or less randomly, we've implemented that feature here. You just click on auto assign, and then the simulation will ask you to confirm. And when you do, what happens is it will assign them to teams. Now notice what it did here. It put all 9 of them in team 1. If you had 100 people, as we do today, and I'll show you this when we do it, you're going to see multiple teams. But here, all 9 of them have been put onto a single team called Team 1 at the moment. And it has distributed those people so that every role has at least 2 people. The tabletop version of the game, as you know, is most fun when there are 2 people per role, because then they have to make a joint decision about how much to order. That gets them talking to one another, exposing their mental models about what's going on, and it's just a heck of a lot more fun to do it that way. In addition, when you're playing it online, there's always the risk that somebody might lose their network connection during the game, or just give up for some reason. They're called away unexpectedly. And if they were the only person in their role, then what would happen is you'd be out of luck. Everybody else on that team wouldn't really have a good experience. So by having a minimum of 2 people in every role, you greatly reduce the chances that a network problem or some other issue will cause the whole team to have a poor experience. You'll notice here that we have 9 people, so there are 3 people at the factory. Now you could change that if you want. You could move Alec Baldwin to be a distributor. He's a troublemaker, we all know that. We could put him in the wholesaler or whatever place you want. You get to move people around after auto assign. And after you're happy with that, then you can go on and start the game. One other thing to notice here is you can change the experience level of people from never played to played before if you want to. And you can change the game mode for the team from the customer order pattern for first-time players to the customer order pattern for people who have played before. One of the features that we're going to implement is the ability for facilitators to create their own custom pattern of orders. So we're not going to look at that today, but you're going to have the ability to create any order pattern you want and enter that in and use that if you prefer. So having done that, assigned people to teams, if you go back now to monitor teams, here's what you're going to see. Here's everybody with their roles. They're all online. We haven't started the game yet, so there's nothing to see here. And now you're ready to open the simulation. So you would click there, and what's going to happen is you would now see this. Now at this point, let me just make a couple comments, and then we're actually going to do it. So that means we're going to go over all of this again live after we show you how to log in. So once the game is open, you as the facilitator are going to want to be on this Monitor Teams tab. And what it's going to show you is all the players in all the teams. here they've already named themselves, and we're going to show you how you name your team. And then the way you as the facilitator advance the game is you're going to click on this button that says start the timer and advance. You see it here. When you click on it, it starts a 20-second countdown timer, and you'll see it counting down here so you know how much time is left as a facilitator. They will all see, as players, that same timer on their screen, and you'll see that when we get started. And you're going to see, as they place their orders, the orders they place will show up here, and you'll therefore be able to know who's placed their orders and who hasn't. And you'll see their net inventory in this column, along with what week it is, which is also displayed up here. So that's how that works. I think we should do it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have you all log in. So you're going to go to this website, and give me 1 second and I will paste it in to chat for everybody. All right, so everybody should have that link in chat. Go ahead and click it, and what you're going to see is the login screen, which looks like this. The code for today is beer0806. That's lowercase beer 0806. So once you've got this dialog box, you're going to enter the class code. You're not logging in as a facilitator now. So enter the class code beer0806 right here. And you should then see this dialog box. Now, please don't advance. Don't click anything else till I tell you to, all right? So you've got your game code entered here. It's displayed here. Enter your real first name and your real last name. Don't answer the question about have you played this game before yet. I need to ask you to do something specific there. So enter your first name, enter your last name, your real names. And then in the real world, with a group that you're running, they would honestly answer the question, have you played this game before? Today, most of you have played the game before. So I don't want you to answer the question honestly. In order to get a good distribution of first-time players and experienced players, usually there's, in a large group that I might run of 100, 200, 300, 400 people, we might have 1 to 5 tables of experienced people and 40 tables in a very large group of first-time players. So in order to get that kind of distribution today, what I want you to do is check the box, have you played this game before, if the last digit of your phone number is a 0. And that should give us roughly 10% of you who will indicate that you've played the game before. So go ahead, check that box only if the last digit of your phone number is a 0. After you do that, then you click create a new user right there. And what you then should see is this window that says the simulation is closed. Please wait for the facilitator to open the simulation for play. So I'm going to leave the screen up for a minute. As the website, as the login code, you should see this screen. If you're not seeing that screen, please raise your hand in Zoom and we'll try to address the issue. Anybody having difficulty? Okay, we're looking good. All right, so we'll get rid of PowerPoint now, and we're in the live setting. So I have also logged in as a player here, and I have the display showing that the simulation is closed. And this is what you see as a facilitator. If I go to monitor teams, the simulation is closed. I've already established the code. I am going to go to the Assign Users tab, and I'm going to refresh. And now all of you show up. So let me make this bigger. And let's see how it worked out. So teams are incomplete or users are unassigned. Click to show 2 warnings. And 102 users have not been assigned a role or a team. So let's just take a quick look. If we scroll down here, I can see, and I can sort on this. So I can see the never played people are listed first. And we have quite a few of you. And there's the experienced people. So 15 or so experienced people. Great. So now what we're going to do is we're going to auto assign people to teams. Okay. Yeah. So we sort by team. Team 1, 2 retailers, 2 wholesalers, 2 distributors, 2 factories. Team 2, 2 retailers, 2 wholesalers, distributors, factory. Great. Thank you very much. And so as we go down here, we have 13 total teams. So now we can go to monitor teams, and here they are. So all the team members are here with their roles. Nothing has happened. And the first thing you want to do as a facilitator is now open the simulation. So I'm going to click on open the simulation, and let's see what happens. And if you look at my player screen, it's now changed where it says name your team and there's team chat. If you don't see that, just refresh your page in your browser. And you should now see name your team with team chat. So in the tabletop version, what happens is we ask people to introduce themselves to their teammates and name their teams. So what you're going to want to do, and I don't know which team I'm in, so, and I don't know who the other players are, and they don't know who I am yet. So I'm going to type in my name, and I'm going to ask you all to do this too, and your role. And I can see that I've been assigned as a retailer. So I'm going to type that in, and everybody else, you should all do that too. So that'll identify yourself, introduce yourselves to all the people on your team. So great. So John's a wholesaler in my game. Everybody else, go ahead and do this. So we should see quite a few more chats coming up on my end. So Nacho, Nacho is partnered with me. He's a retailer. Joe Shui, great to see you. You're a wholesaler. Joaquin, you're a distributor. Jorge, you're a distributor. And I think we need, yep, JP is one of the factories. Great. So now what you do is continue the chat and very quickly come up with a name for your team, a name for your beer. So somebody on my team other than myself, suggest a name, and you can all interact and decide on your team name. So go ahead, folks on my team, somebody suggest a name for our beer. And what I always say when I run this tabletop is, listen, you can pick the name of a real beer, but it's more fun for us as facilitators if you make up a name. But if you do make up a name, just keep it clean. This is a family show, okay? So number 5 beer, that's pretty boring, Nacho, but you know, let's see what everybody else on my team wants to do. So meanwhile, all the rest of you, introduce yourselves to your teammates and suggest a name for your beer. And you know, we're gonna wanna move along, so don't make this an agonizing decision. So. And the other folks on my team, you know, let me hear from you. Are you agreeing with number 5 beer suggested by Nacho, or are you suggesting something else? No brilliant ideas. Is that the name of the beer, John?
Some people are reporting that they no longer have the chat window. That's because the retailer has named the team and they've moved on. So.
So retailers, yes. So the retailer, after you all decide, so we have Dino Beer, I kind of like that. let's have some thumbs up or, just yeses or no. Number 5, the no nonsense beer. All right. So once you've agreed on the name for your beer, one of the retailers is going to type it in and submit it. So I'm going to Beer Ache. All right, let's make a decision here. I'm voting for Dino Beer. Folks on my team, is that okay? If you strongly object, say so now or forever hold your peace. Okay, I think we're good with Dino Beer. So as one of the retailers, I'm going to type in that word Dino Beer, and then I'm going to submit it. And I'm asked to confirm it, and I'll confirm it. And now I'm seeing the supply chain, and I'm going to just shrink this a tad. Let me shrink it a little bit more. I'll make it bigger again, but let me show you what the board looks like. So everybody, after your retailer has submitted the name of the beer that you've all agreed to as a team, you all should see this. Now, I'm a retailer. I'm the Dino Beer retailer. You'll see the name of your team and a box around whichever position you're playing in the chain. And on the facilitator page, if I refresh, we see the names of the beers. Beer R Us, Rusty Chain. Looks like the first team still hasn't submitted a name yet. Family Beer. We still have some teams that haven't submitted their team names. Please go ahead and do it. It doesn't matter. We'd like to move on. Antarctica, okay. Dino Beer, Stubborn Donkey, love it. Virtual Beer, Better Porter, Strangers 2020, Lovers Beer, right out of the 5th discipline. And then there's the Phantom Team 14 we don't worry about. Okay, so we're doing well on that. Let's see if everybody has now submitted a name. So I'll refresh the page again. IPA Co., Beers Are Us, and your last beer, gosh, I hope not. 8M Co. Beer 19 Champ. A little hard to say, but okay. Now, one feature we've created here is suppose somebody enters a beer name that's inappropriate. You can edit it. So let's go down to Dino Beer, which is my team. And if that was somehow an inappropriate name, you can rename it. So I'll call it Dino Beer lowercase this time. And there it is. I've changed the name. Okay. So occasionally, some of the people we play with are submitting names that aren't appropriate. All right. So now everybody's got this image of their supply chain. So let me show you how it works. And I've got a set of slides to illustrate that. And let me walk you through. And this is what I do with the real participants. So most people that you're going to be running the game with have never played before. So these slides, which we will make available eventually on the Learning Edge website, help you explain it just like you would in the tabletop version. So there are, of course, 4 links in the chain: retailer, wholesaler, distributor, factory. I'm going to do this much faster than I do in the real world for first-time players because you're all familiar with the game. 4 links in the chain. You're going to be managing one of those links with a partner. You're going to jointly manage your link in the chain. You play, though, as a team. The entire supply chain plays against all the other teams, and the winner is the team with the lowest cumulative cost. So every week, your team and every link in your chain will incur a cost. I'll explain how that works momentarily. And we'll add those up. And after the simulated year we're going to play, 50 weeks, you're going to have the total cumulative costs for your team. And it's the team with the lowest total costs that wins the game. Now, as you all know, in the tabletop version, we have everybody bet $1. And we physically collect the money. We don't do Venmo, we don't do PayPal, we don't take Bitcoin, cash on the barrelhead. We're not doing that in the virtual game. We haven't figured out a reasonable way that would be doable in a short amount of time to have people bet. So we're open to your creative ideas about how to put some skin in the game for people. One idea is that I would personally put up a sum of money that the winner could designate a charity of their choice that would receive that donation. But we welcome your creative ideas there. So here's how the supply chain works. In week 1, everybody's got 12 cases of beer, and you can see that here. And the supply chain starts in a steady state with 4 cases of beer in every shipping delay, like you see here, and in the production delays where the beer is brewed. And there's 4 cases of beer flowing through all the stages of order submission and order processing. So 4 cases of beer being processed all the way through. Now, the first week, the customer is going to order 4 cases of beer, and everybody else is going to order 4 cases of beer as well, because we start with some training and give people a chance to master the mechanics. So the first week, the retailer, the wholesaler, distributor, all going to order 4, and the factory orders 4, which means setting the production schedule for the next week. And so the supply chain starts in balance, 12 cases of beer in every inventory, and 4 all the way through the order processing, production, and shipment flow delays. So here's what happens every week. Here's your starting position. The first thing that happens is everybody receives a delivery from their supplier, and the truck's advanced. So that means, for example, the wholesaler, this truck that's closest to the retailer, containing beer from the wholesaler, that truck pulls up to the retailer and delivers 4 cases of beer. And then the other truck moves down the highway, and that happens all the way up and down the chain. And the batch of beer is brewed and bottled, and the other batch of beer moves farther along in the fermentation process. Then what happens is everybody receives a new order from their customer and fills orders. So the customer orders 4, and the retailer has 16 at that moment and ships all 4. And the same thing happens all the way up and down the chain. Distributor gets an order for 4, fills it. Factory gets an order for 4 and fills it. Okay. Then what happens is the system is going to record your end of week inventory. Your ending inventory, of course, is your starting inventory, plus what you got in deliveries from your supplier, minus the shipment you made to your customer. You'll note, of course, everybody started with 12, received a delivery of 4, filled an order for 4. So they started with 12, they end with 12. And now what happens is the wholesaler, distributor, and factory receive the order from the prior week that was placed by their immediate customer. So the retailer order starts moving up to the wholesaler, and that happens all the way along the chain. And the factory starts brewing a new batch based on the prior week's production request. So that order for 4 turns into a new batch of beer being brewed. This is exactly the way it works in the tabletop version. And then the last thing is every link in the chain places a new order, and the factory sets the production schedule. So to start out with, don't do it yet. We're going to ask you all to order 4. Don't do it yet. Because first, we're going to show you how to read your display. Okay. We explain the costs at this point. The costs are the standard costs, 50 cents per case in inventory and $1 for every case in backlog. And I'm not going to do it today, but I show this example and I ask a question: what is the retailer cost for week 1? We set up a poll in Zoom. We launch the poll. Everybody answers. What is the retailer's cost for week 1? The answer choices are 0, 4, 6, 12, 24, and everybody should get the right answer. It's 50 cents per case, 12 cases, so it's $6. And then we launch another poll where they answer the question, what is the team cost for week 1? And we explain that we're only counting the inventories. For simplicity, we're not counting what's in the shipping or production delays. We launch another poll with choices and they answer the question. And of course, the correct answer is $24, 6 for each of the 4 inventories. Okay. Now, this is what you see on your screen when you are asked to name your team. You've all already done that. So now this is what you see on your screen. So let me explain how this works. In this example, the player is the distributor on the Sloan Lager team. So first of all, you see the supply chain right up here. And you see how much is in the inventories for all the players. And you see how much is in the shipping delays and the production delays for all the players. So you have complete, perfect visibility into the supply chain for every link in the chain. So it's like there's an RFID tag on every case of beer all the way up and down the chain, and you can see that anytime you want. The bottom of your screen shows you what's happening right now, and it will also populate a spreadsheet down here that shows all of the decisions you've made with your inventory or backlog and your orders as you go through, and then you'll see graphs of your inventories and your orders as you go through. So let's focus on that. And let me point out, now I'm a retailer in the game. If my screen size is limited, I can close that drawer and give myself more room, and I can open it up. And I can do that anytime I want. If I want to see what's going on, I open it up. If I want to have more room, I can close it. So now the question is, how do you read the rest of this? So let me go back here. And in this example, you can chat with your partner at any time. Now, before you chatted with your teammates, but when we actually, to set the name of your beer, but when we run the game in the tabletop version, you can only talk to your partner. We always say there's no communication across the links in the chain. And so the way it works now is when you chat with somebody, you're chatting just with your partner. So let's try it. Here's live chat. Ignacio, Nacho is my partner. Hi, Nacho, ready to go. And he's going to get that. And if he's still there, he'll answer me, I hope. So now you're able to talk to your partner only, and the two of you are going to jointly decide how many cases of beer to order every week. Now, only one of you is going to enter that decision. So if you look right here, it says you are currently the editor. That means I'm the one, after we decide together how much to order, I'm the one who's going to enter the order. Nacho, on your screen, if you'll click Become Editor, it should now tell me that Nacho Martinez is currently the editor, and he would be the one to enter our joint decision. For illustration purposes, in the first week, Nacho, I'll be the editor, but after that, you're going to take over, all right? So let's take a look at the screen here. First of all, it's week 1. You have costs of $6. That's what happened the first week because you started with 12 cases of beer. You can see that right here. You received a delivery from your immediate supplier, the wholesaler. That was 4. You received an order from your customer, and as the retailer, that's the end customer, for 4. You shipped that full order, and that left you with an end of week 1 inventory of 12 cases. This is where you're going to enter your order. And in the first week, we want everybody to order 4. So everybody go ahead. One of you becomes the editor for your link in the chain. Doesn't matter who. Don't fight over it. And enter 4 and submit. And you get a box asking you to confirm it. That's correct. If it wasn't correct, if it's not what you want, you cancel and type in something else. I'll confirm that order. And now take a look at up right here. You see these check marks appear. The check mark here says the retailer, that's me, Nacho and I, we've successfully submitted our order. And as the other members of our team submit their orders, these check marks appear. So I can see that they've all submitted their orders. Now, what's happening as the facilitator? Well, as the facilitator, I can see who's placed their orders. So I look here, and IPO Co., people have placed their order, except we haven't got an order from the retailer. So Zhenghua Yang, yep, thank you very much. You did that. That's great. And if we scroll down, we can see that we're still missing the factory on the 8M Co-Beer 19 chap. So Max or Michelle or Ozga, whichever one of you is the editor, type in 4 and submit your order for week 1. And you go ahead and do that. Khalid and Mark, we need an order for Bear the Beer distributor, and so on. Now, what happens if somebody doesn't enter an order? So here's what happens. If there's nothing in here, if it's blank, well, I've already submitted it, I can't change it. But if it was blank, then the system will use your order from the prior week. If you've put a number in there, click submit, but you haven't confirmed it, when time runs out, it'll take the number you've submitted. And the same if you've put a number in and didn't submit it. And that way, everything continues, even if people miss out. So on the facilitator side, we can see that all the orders have been placed pretty much. We're still missing Harvey and Anita, virtual beer distributor. And there's a few on Strangers 2020. We need orders from all you folks. You need to put in your orders, please. But at some point, you want to move things along. So you click the start timer. And now what happens is, let's see what's going on here. The 20-second timer is counting down. And so everybody's got now 13 seconds to type in and submit their order. If they don't, it will either use what they've put in here, even if they haven't submitted and confirmed, or it takes the prior week order. So time runs out and that order is entered. You see it here, week 1, you ended the week with 12 cases, it cost you $6 and you ordered 4. And now we're in week 2, you have 12 cases of beer. Why? Because you started with 12, you got 4 from your supplier, the wholesaler. In my example, I filled an order from 4 from my customer, and that left me with 12 at the end. But I have not yet placed my order for week 2. So Nacho, why don't you become the editor, please? And if you would enter 4, and everybody, please enter 4. Again, we're in the training rounds, so please enter 4. And as people do that, we should see that popping in. So here we already see that Ron and Rod entered 4 as the distributor. We're seeing orders pop in. That's great. And everybody should be ordering 4. It doesn't take long for everybody to do that. Please enter 4, and I'm starting the timer. So what happens is time should count down again, 20 seconds. Everybody enter 4, please. And we'll move on to week 3. And as this is happening, you see the graphs are populating here. The top graph is your orders, what you are deciding in this box here. And the bottom graph is your net inventory, where of course, inventory is plotted as a positive number and backlogs are plotted as a negative number. Okay, that's great. And here we are, it's week 3. Everybody enter 4 again, please. So go ahead, enter 4. I'm gonna start the timer. And we count down. Everybody please enter 4. It's happening. You can see the orders coming in. And 10 seconds left. Factory on my team needs to enter an order, please. And there we go. Thank you very much. And in that fashion, you run the first 3 weeks are part of the training. And so here we are now, it's week 4. And what I want people to do is now, well, what I always say is, okay, training is over. You're now free to order anything you want. Well, wait a minute. I'm from MIT. You're free to order any non-negative integer quantity you want. So everybody go ahead. Now, this is where you need to chat with your partner. So we're gonna go fast because we just want to illustrate everything, but chat quickly with your partner and decide together. So what I would do here is I'd say how much to order, and Nacho says 4, and I say sure. There's been no changes yet, so why would I want to change? But it's totally up to you. So everybody go ahead and do that. Nacho's the editor, so he's going to enter 4, I hope, and confirm that. And meanwhile, I'm starting the timer. So here we go, counting down 20 seconds, and people should be ordering whatever they want. Somebody's ordered 6, 8. You're free to order whatever you want. 3, lots of 4s still. That's all great. Somebody ordered 40. Okay. And in this fashion, as the facilitator, you get to monitor what's happening here. And so now here we are. It's week 5, and everybody should go ahead and place your orders, anything you want. And since this is just a demo game, I don't want to take a lot of time for you all to be chatting with your partner, but that's what you do. You have people chat with their partner, make a joint decision. And Nacho, why don't you just go ahead and order whatever you'd like to do. I'll leave it entirely in your hands here. You can see that we got an order for 8 this time, and we shipped it all because we had 12 cases of beer, and that left us with a final inventory of 8, which you can see here. The net inventories for the retailers are 8, and they are starting to vary upstream. So I'm going to start the timer. We're counting down. Nacho ordered 8, works for me. So I leave the order decision in Nacho's capable hands. And as time runs out, orders are entered. You can see where people are at. That's great. Now, one other thing you've got here is you can see graphs of any of the teams at any point during the game. So this drop-down menu shows you all the teams. And let's look at Dino Beer. That's my team. And there you go. That's what's been happening so far. You can, of course, look at any particular team you want or link in the chain you want. So that's what the retailer has done. This is what the wholesaler has done. Nothing yet, nothing yet, nothing yet. And there's all of them. Okay. Let's go back to monitor. Everybody should go ahead and place an order. I'm going to start the timer. Place an order, please, anything you want. 20 seconds. And let's see what happens. So orders should be coming in. That's great. Remember, if they don't put anything in the field, it will take their last week order. Looks like most of the orders are coming in as time runs out. We're just going fast here. When I actually do this, I give people more time. One observation in my experience so far is the setup takes a little longer than the tabletop version, but the play is much faster. So it takes about the same amount of time, or maybe even a little less than the traditional game. So go ahead now. It's now week 7. Place your orders, please. Take a look at what's going on. Now you see your spreadsheet is populating with your inventories, with your orders, and the graphs are showing you what's happening. Nacho, watch out. We're at 0 inventory. That's great, but what's going to happen next? Don't let us have any backlogs. And we'll start the timer. So everybody place your orders, and let's see how people are doing.
And
Yep.
John, okay, yeah, this time you're playing and being the instructor, which isn't
Right.
usual. So normally you would be looking at what we're doing, right?
Right. I'm as the facilitator, you see this page, which lets you see everybody's order status, inventories, and whether they're online or not. So for example, we now have some backlogs. Okay. Now at this point in the normal game, I interrupt and I say, oh, we've got some backlogs. Let's talk about how backlog accounting works. I bring up this slide and we go through how it works, but I'm not going to take any time to do this right now. It is important that people understand the rules about how backlog accounting works. but I'm not going to take the time to do that. So everybody, you see where you're at. We have some retailers who are in a backlog situation now, and some upstream people who are in backlog situations. Remember, backlog is twice as expensive as inventory. Go ahead and place your orders. People are already doing that. Place your orders, and I'm going to start the timer. So we count down again. Let's see what Nacho's going to do. Nacho, you got us into a backlog. It's all your fault. You're only going to order 8? How are we going to get rid of the backlog? So, of course, I couldn't speak to him during the game as I am now, because I wouldn't be playing. But he's freaking out. Okay, so here we go. Time has expired. It's week 9. Let's advance. Go ahead, place your orders, folks, and I'm going to start the timer. Go ahead, place your orders. 20 seconds. Everybody put your orders in. Nacho, don't do me wrong here. 8. I'm not happy with you. You need to order more. Okay, so he's ordered more. We've now advanced. It's now week 10. Here we go, week 10. Everybody go ahead and place your orders. We'll play just a couple more weeks, and then we'll transition to what happens after the game so that we have some time for conversation. So people are placing their orders. As that happens, I can see what's happening. We need orders from a lot of people still. I'm starting the timer. Time is counting down. Get your orders in. Nacho, we're in a backlog. Oh, good, you ordered 12, finally. Okay, so time's about to run out. I think we'll do 1 or 2 more real quick. So I'm going to start the timer very soon. Here we go. We can see what happened. There's a lot of backlogs now in some of the teams. Some of them are quite large. I'm going to start the timer. Everybody go ahead and place your orders. 20 seconds. And Nacho, what are you going to do here? Still have a backlog of 4. 8, not enough. Okay, so 1 more week will do. So everybody go ahead as we transition now into week 12. Let's see. Yep, week 12, go ahead, place your orders, and I'm going to start the timer. So here we go. Now, as most of you know, we tell people that we're going to play for a year. That's 50 weeks. But we actually stop the game typically after 36. And the reason for that, of course, is to prevent horizon effects where people know the end is coming and they ramp down their inventories, which would not be realistic. So here we go. We've finished now 12 weeks. Imagine that we've now played all 36 weeks that we're going to play. And at that point, as the facilitator, what you do is you click on End Session. Okay, so I'm going to end the session. I'm asked to confirm that I really mean it, and yes, I do. And so now what happens is, as a retailer, I get a message that says the game is ended. Thanks for playing. Don't close your browser window. Your facilitator will provide further instructions. And I say, okay. And I can still chat with my partner. Okay, so you can still chat with your partner, and I can see my graphs, and I can look at what happened all 36 weeks in the real game. But now, what do you as the facilitator want to do? So first, you can go here and see the results. So here you see all the results, and by link in the chain and total costs. And typically, you're going to want to sort these from highest to lowest. And let's look at the range. So of course, we haven't played a full game, but we have a high cost of $1,612 and a low cost of $278.50. And down at the bottom, the average is calculated for you, 523. Now, when we debrief this, we usually do a reveal. So the way I do that is before we talk about the results, I'll create just a blank page in Word, and I'll cover up everything. And when we get to that part of the discussion, and we're not there yet, but just to illustrate, I'd say, well, you know, we had 13 teams here today. So let's see, here is your 12th runner-up at 1,612, Better Porter. And everybody claps in Zoom. And then next is this one, next is this one. And that way, you gently, one at a time, reveal what's going on. And then at the bottom, you can show the average. So that works very nicely. Meanwhile, the game is over, but there's still one more thing for everybody to do before there's a break. And so if you go up here, you have this tab called Customer Order Graphs. And if I click on it, now take a look at your screen. Let's see, now I'm a retailer, so I'm not going to do that. But, oh, I need to go to Monitor Teams. So if I go to Monitor Teams, there's a button called Show Drawable Graphs. So if I click that, then what happens is everybody other than the retailers is prompted to draw what they think customer orders are. As a retailer, I know what the customer orders are, so I don't get to do that. And instead, I can take a break. And once I click it, I can see the results of my team. So I can look at, this is what I did. This is what the wholesaler did on top of it, etc. Look at any of them I like. Meanwhile, everybody else gets something that looks like this. So they all get the opportunity to sketch what they think is customer orders. So you're going to take your mouse, and I want everybody to do this now. Every person, retailers you don't, but every other person, take your mouse and sketch what you think the customer orders were. This is what I think. And since there's no vertical scale here, and that's deliberate so that nobody is biased in their judgment, you know it started at 4, and then you just use your mouse or your trackpad and draw whatever you think it did. You then need to enter the maximum customer order you believe happened. This is the end customer order. And then you click Submit. And everybody should go ahead and do that now. And the retailers, they don't, so they can take a break. So at this point in the game, tabletop version, once people have drawn this on paper, we have a break. Same thing here. You've now introduced and played the game. It's a great time for a break. And while people are at their break, you take a look at the results. So for that, you just go up here and you can look at the results, figure out who won, make that Word document to hide everything, etc. And you can look at the results for any team. So here's IPA Co. And I can see what they did. I can deselect all. I can look at the retailer, wholesaler, etc. I can also show the customer orders if I want to. Now, also during the break, what you want to do as the facilitator is you want to click here on the customer order graphs. And you get thumbnails of all the graphs that people have submitted. And there's quite a few of them. And they are ordered from highest maximum order to lowest. And this helps you select the ones that you want to show during the debrief discussion. So 10,000, boom and bust. Yeah, I'm going to use that one. I like that one. I like that one. I like that one. I like that one. And you pick the ones you want. It's not a representative sample. It's just the ones you like. And you pick as many of them as you want. And you can unselect them as well. But I like Stubborn Donkey. You can see which team and role contributed that graph, but you don't see their names. So I pick a few more. And when I'm ready for the debrief, I'll show you what happens. So now this is what you've done during the break, however long you want folks to have a break. When they come back, you start the debrief. The first thing that we usually do is we show the results in the way that I indicated by creating a blank Word document and revealing from highest cost to lower, and then talking about the average and how they compared against other groups and what optimal is. And I think, as you all know, optimal is about $200. So you guys are well on your way to doing far, far worse than that. So then you have the normal debrief discussion, which we're not going to do right now. But part of that debrief is you ask people to take a look at the dynamics. So I'll pick a team. So let's pick Bear the Beer. And I'll usually start deselected, and I'll say, okay, here's what the retailer did. And now let's add the wholesaler. So the orders are on top and the inventories, net inventories are on the bottom. And then I'll add the distributor, and then I'll add the factory. And I'll do that for a bunch of the teams. If you have a large number like we do here today, you probably don't do them all, but typically start this way: retailer, wholesaler, distributor, factory. And what this does is it reveals the fact that all the games are showing oscillations, they show amplification, they show the phase lag, etc. Then we ask them, well, why is it that all the games show the same patterns? Which is true. Now, we didn't play a full game, but you always see the same patterns: oscillation, amplification, and phase lag. Why is that, even though the people who play come, in our example here today, from all over the world and all kinds of different backgrounds? That's weird. You would think people would find many different ways to mess up in the game. And that's not what we see. So we ask people to think about that for a second. And then I usually say, well, actually, most of you have a theory. And your theory is, it isn't my fault. And how do I know that? Because we asked you to draw these graphs. Let's take a look. So I click here on slideshow, and I get a slideshow just like in PowerPoint with the ones that I've selected. So if I end here, I selected this one, this one, this one, etc. Now here, for the selection process, they're ordered from the highest maximum order that people typed in to the lowest. But for the slideshow, we start with the lowest one that you've selected and gradually build it up. So this person said we started at 4, peaked at 12, and then demand collapsed. This person said it oscillated 3 times, peaking at 20 before collapsing. This person also said it oscillated, peaks at 20. Same thing here, peaking at 20, peaking at 25, boom and bust, peaks at 30, boom and bust, peaks at 50, etc. All the ones that you've shown. And you can go back and forth, of course. And then there's a part of the discussion about, why did you all blame your customer? And then what we do is we go back to to reports, and we pick a team. I'll pick Virtual Beer. Here's what they've done. I'll deselect all, and I'll ask, who was the retailer on the Virtual Beer? So who was the retailer on Virtual Beer? Unmute yourself and identify yourself. Go ahead. Virtual Beer retailer.
That was us.
Great.
Merry Christmas.
Me also.
Eric. Great. So what was the pattern of customer orders that you had there, Eric?
We had increasing at an increasing rate, and then
Not the orders you got, but as a retailer, what were your orders?
The pattern.
Started at 4.
right. 1 second.
Increase.
So yeah, it increased to 6.
Well, not quite. Here's what happened. Let me show you. So I'll click here. During the
Okay.
training, it was 4.
4.
In week 5, it jumped up to 8, and it stayed completely constant after that at 8. And it was the same for everybody. Now, the expert teams, the experienced teams, it goes from 4 to 12. But all the first-time players playing the regular game, it follows the same pattern. It's 4 during the training rounds. In week 5, it jumps up to 8. It stays dead flat constant at 8. And you can show that to people, and you can show that for any team, right? It's the same for everybody except the experienced people. And then what you can do is you could say, so what happened? Orders were constant, but that's what the retailer did. That's what the wholesaler did. That's what the factory did. And so again, if I deselect all and then show the factory, the factory ordered 25. What's going on here? Or 100 or 1,000 or whatever the maximum number is. And so you can show that amplification, and you can pick any team you want and do that. So remember, we didn't play a full game, but the results come out really, really well. And you see what folks are doing. Okay, so at that point, you continue on with your debrief discussion. And there's slides that I and many others out there have created to do that, and you wrap up the game. So that's how it works. So we're at 10:45. That gives us 15 minutes to have your questions and comments, and let's open it up. So go ahead and either ask a question in chat or just unmute yourself and ask a question. I can show you some results from prior games. So you saw here the graphs that you all contributed from a partial game, but let me show you. This is a set of graphs from real players. Actually, so first results from real players. So here's the team names. I've redacted the names of the participants. And we had costs in this 36-week game ranging from almost 11,000 down to 700, so quite a wide spread. And their graphs of customer orders looked like this, some of them. There were more players than this, so that's just a sample. And you can see the boom and bust pattern that's very, very typical in all the different games that people play. People talk about the coronavirus impact. So this is a photograph I took in the middle of March showing my supermarket with no toilet paper. Well, I guess there's like 8 rolls there. Everything's out of stock. And then a few weeks later, it's not just that there's toilet paper, there's so much extra inventory that they had to stack it up in the aisles because there wasn't enough shelf space for it. And who knows what's in the back beyond that. So I now incorporate this into the debrief that I run. You know, people find this very, very exciting to do. So people talk about the coronavirus impact. So this is a photograph I took in the middle of March showing my supermarket with no toilet paper. Well, I guess there's like 8 rolls there. Everything's out of stock. And then a few weeks later, it's not just that there's toilet paper, there's so much extra inventory that they had to stack it up in the aisles because there wasn't enough shelf space for it. And who knows what's in the back beyond that. So I now incorporate this into the debrief that I run. You know, people find this very, very exciting to do. So let me just thank you all again. Yep, thanks everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye,
Adios.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank
See
you so
you.
much. See you.
Bye-bye.